I sit inside the Sunrise Community Credit Union on a cool autumn morning, my fingers tapping lightly on the padded armrest of a burgundy chair. The air carries the scent of lemon polish and coffee, while faint conversations and the sound of keyboards fill the room. Through the tall windows, golden and crimson leaves swirl across the parking lot. "It'll only take a minute, Stephanie." "Just a small refinance," Victor had said earlier this morning, speaking casually as he buttered his toast. "We just need your signature as a co-borrower." But now, watching the bank manager's hands tremble as he slides documents across his mahogany desk, I sense something is very wrong. "Miss Adler, I have to bring some discrepancies to your attention," Howard Langley says softly, his voice nearly a whisper. His silver-rimmed glasses catch the harsh fluorescent light as he taps a blue pen against a signature line. "This appears to be your signature on past loan documents, but our verification flagged it." Victor shifts uneasily in the chair next to me, his cologne suddenly overpowering. "What are you implying?" he snaps, glancing at my mother, who sits stiffly, lips pressed into a thin line. Mr. Langley pushes a document toward me. "This signature from 3 months ago doesn't match our records." I stare at the flowing script, only faintly similar to my handwriting. The room feels like it's tilting. "I never signed this," I say. Victor's face flushes red. "Don't be ridiculous, Stephanie. You signed it at the house after your birthday dinner." "I was in Chicago on my birthday working," I reply, my voice growing firmer. "I never signed anything." Victor stands abruptly, his chair crashing backward. "This is absurd. We'll take our business elsewhere." He grabs my arm, his fingers digging into my skin. "Let's go." I pull away. No, his eyes narrow. "Don't make a scene." When I don't move, something in him breaks. He lunges forward, shoving me hard. I stumble into the rope divider, the metal post clattering loudly and silencing the lobby. A sharp pain spreads across my collarbone where his nails have torn my blouse. My heart pounds against my ribs like a trapped bird. The scratch burns as if drawn with fire. A metallic taste fills my mouth, one I remember from childhood, fear mixed with adrenaline. This isn't just about a loan. The realization hits me like a wave striking rock. This is identity theft. "My own parents," I whisper, my voice trembling. "How could you forge my signature?" The words sound foreign, like they belong to someone else's nightmare. Victor towers over me, his familiar face twisted with rage. 11 years ago, when my mother first introduced him, he'd smiled kindly, promising to be the father you never had. I was 18, still mourning my father's death from cancer the year before, an easy target for his calculated warmth. I look at my mother, searching her face. "Did you know?" She doesn't meet my eyes. Instead, she stares at her lap, shredding a tissue between her fingers. This can't be legal. The thought cuts through my confusion like glass. Suddenly, the signs make sense. Their curiosity about my promotion last month. The questions about my savings mail opened by mistake. A security guard walks slowly toward us, his measured steps and watchful eyes showing he's been tracking the scene. Victor's face twists again with anger. He points a finger at me. "You ungrateful little—" I move behind Mr. Langley's desk, putting solid wood between us. "I'm not signing anything," I say, my voice steadier than I feel. My mother finally speaks, her voice barely audible. "Don't shame us here, Stephanie. Family helps family, family helps family." Her lifelong mantra, used like a blade whenever I hesitated to give them what they wanted. Money, time, loyalty flowing only one way. Victor straightens his jacket, trying to regain control. "You're overreacting. This was just to help with that retail plaza investment. The returns will benefit all of us." The retail plaza, his newest plan that was supposed to make them rich, stood in sharp contrast to the failed food truck franchise, the vacation rentals, and the cryptocurrency investments that had already consumed large portions of their retirement savings. Mr. Langley clears his throat. "Ms. Adler, I should let you know this isn't the first document with your signature we've received at our bank." I grip the edge of the desk. "What?" "There appear to be several accounts in your name," he continues carefully, looking from me to Victor. "Credit lines, personal loans." Victor's eyes flick toward the security guard, who now stands watch at a careful distance. My mother tightens her grip on Victor's arm, her knuckles pale against his navy blazer. The imbalance of power is painfully obvious. They stand together while I stand alone. "I need to make a phone call," I say, pulling my cell phone from my purse with trembling hands. Victor argues with the security guard as I step into an empty office, my finger already pressing my brother's number. Caleb, I need you. Sunrise Credit Union. Now. My voice breaks on the last word. 20 minutes later, Caleb's work truck screeches into a parking space visible through the bank's front windows. He strides in wearing paint-stained jeans and a flannel shirt dusted with sawdust, evidence of the cabinetry job he left behind to help me. Let me see where he hurt you, he says, gently examining the scratch on my collarbone. His hands, calloused from years of carpentry, are unexpectedly tender. The same hands that taught me to ride a bike when my father was too sick. The same hands that helped me move into my first apartment. The choice before me becomes suddenly clear. Pretend this never happened and preserve a fragile peace. Or take a stand that will permanently change my relationship with my mother and stepfather. Caleb seems to read my thoughts. Document everything, he advises quietly, before they come up with a story. His blue eyes, so much like our father's, carry steady confidence. The Air Force had not only trained him in aircraft mechanics, but had given him an unshakable moral compass. I straighten my torn blouse, feeling something solidify inside me like concrete setting. I want to know exactly what they've done. 3 days after the bank incident, I sit in Carmen Velasquez's downtown law office watching her spread credit reports across her mahogany desk. The walls display framed court victories in fraud cases spanning 2 decades. Outside, autumn rain blurs the city skyline into a watercolor haze. $62,000 in fraudulent debt, Carmen says, tapping a red-tipped finger on a particularly damning page. And that's only what we've confirmed. The air leaves my lungs in a rush. That can't be right. Yet the evidence stretches before me in black and white columns, 4 credit cards maxed out and now in collections, an auto loan denied due to my supposed poor payment history, a personal loan with a predatory interest rate that Victor had co-signed under my name both times. All statements went to your mother's address, Carmen notes, sliding another document forward. Redirecting mail is common in family identity theft cases. I stare at the unfamiliar P.O. box listed as my mailing address. I never set this up, of course not. Based on the bank records Mr. Langley provided, Victor has been using your identity for at least 3 years. She pulls another folder. And he didn't act alone. This loan officer, Brandon Weiss, processed most of the paperwork. Signature verification flags were manually overridden each time. My throat tightens as I realize how deliberate it all was. They planned this. This isn't sloppy theft, Carmen says, her voice steady with experience. This is coordinated identity fraud. She pauses, then adds, and unfortunately, it's not Victor's first time. We found a similar pattern involving his first wife's daughter. He's done this before? I ask. Carmen nods grimly. 10 years ago, the case was settled privately. I close my eyes as memories rearrange themselves with sickening clarity. Mom's constant guilt trips about family helping family weren't about occasional loans. They were laying groundwork. Victor's persistent questions about my work, bonuses, and promotions weren't proud curiosity. They were information gathering. The questions about my new apartment, I murmur, pieces falling into place. The mail that arrived opened. They weren't accidents. Caleb's voice cuts into my spiraling thoughts as he enters with coffee. I found something else, he says, placing a manila folder on Carmen's desk. Stephanie had an inheritance from Dad's life insurance, $20,000 in a trust that matured when she turned 25. I look up sharply. What inheritance? Exactly, Caleb says, his jaw tight. I found the original paperwork in Dad's old files. The money disappeared 3 months after your 25th birthday. A deeper pain lances through me. Not just the betrayal, but the realization they'd stolen something irreplaceable. They weren't just stealing money, I whisper. They were stealing my future, my safety net. Carmen watches me with practiced patience, waiting as I process each new blow. What evidence do we need? I finally ask, straightening my spine. Carmen smiles faintly, approving my shift from reaction to strategy. She outlines the documentation required, the affidavits we'll need, and the timeline for both criminal charges and civil restitution. This wasn't impulsive, I say aloud. They didn't just take advantage of an opportunity, they built a system. Exactly, Carmen confirms. And systems leave paper trails. Caleb returns from the small kitchen with a stack of paper cups. As he hands me one, he shares the results of his background check on Victor. Gambling debts, failed investments, 3 collection judgments in the past year alone. And Mom? I ask. Caleb's expression hardens. She secretly owns rental property on Mapleview Street while claiming financial hardship to you. Carmen flips through another file. Victor's facing possible criminal charges from other creditors. If he doesn't find money soon, he could be looking at jail time for fraud, unrelated to your case. They're not cartoon villains, I say, surprising myself with the observation. They're just people caught in lies that kept growing. My phone buzzes with a voicemail notification. Mom's tearful voice fills the small office when I press play on, "Speaker, Stephanie, please call us. Victor said this would only be temporary, just enough to get us through. We never meant for it to go this far." Carmen glances at Caleb with quiet meaning. We all hear the manipulation under the tears. A text message arrives from a mutual friend. Victor says you're overreacting. Do you think anyone will believe you over your mother? The threat hits directly at my deepest insecurity. But instead of doubt, a strange clarity sets in. They have nothing left to lose, I say, realizing for the first time how dangerous that makes them. Carmen closes a folder with a decisive snap. We pursue this on 2 tracks: criminal charges for identity theft and fraud, and civil action for financial restitution. Caleb leans forward, forearms on his jeans. My spare room is yours as long as you need. The bungalow has good locks and watchful neighbors. Howard Langley called this morning, Carmen adds. He's sending copies of all suspicious transactions going back 5 years. And the bank is issuing a victim affidavit to clear your credit, Caleb says, sliding a business card across the desk. This is the fraud department contact. A lump rises in my throat at their coordinated support. 3 days ago, I stood alone against my parents in that bank. Now a team stands with me. You're not fighting alone, Carmen says, as if reading my mind. That's what they're counting on. That family obligation would keep you isolated. I study the stack of paperwork before us, seeing not just betrayal now, but also a path forward. Unexpected strength settles in my chest as I reach for a pen. Let's get to work, I say, turning to the first affidavit. Later that day, Victor's old laptop sits on my kitchen table like a black box of secrets. Caleb had found it yesterday, forgotten in the back of my coat closet. Check if there's anything useful on it, he'd suggested. His voice neutral. I type in the password, my birthday, of course, and the screen flickers to life. The desktop is cluttered with icons. I click through folders methodically, searching for anything related to finances. Nothing. Just old vacation photos and work documents. I'm about to give up when I see a folder labeled Investment Tracking. Inside is a single Excel file named Property Management. I click it and a password prompt appears. I try my birthday, access denied. My mother's birthday, access denied. Their anniversary, the screen unlocks. The spreadsheet fills the screen, tabs of color-coded information. My stomach drops as I scan the first worksheet. It's a detailed tracking system of credit cards, payment due dates, and available credit limits, all in my name. I click through each tab with growing horror. One tracks credit bureau reporting dates. Another lists payment minimums with notes like, pay $50 above minimum to maintain good status. Then I find the smoking gun, a tab labeled SA accounts, my accounts, every single one. Checking, savings, retirement, even notes on my direct deposit schedule. My blood runs cold as I read a note. Bonus expected March 15th, $4,200 after tax. How did they know that? I click to the next tab and find an email exchange between Victor and Brandon Weiss, the loan officer at Sunrise Credit Union. The emails discuss refinancing using my signature. Remember to use the sample from the application, not the signature card, Brandon wrote. Less chance of questions that way. I scroll through more emails, hands trembling. Victor replying, Lillian found the perfect signature in her keepsake box from Steph's high school graduation card, vintage Stephanie, before she changed how she writes her name. My mother, she actively helped him. The final piece locks into place as I find a document tracking my work travel schedule, noting when packages and mail were successfully intercepted. They waited until I was gone, took my mail, then replaced it before I returned. My phone vibrates, Carmen calling back. I found it, I tell her, voice steadier than I feel. A spreadsheet tracking everything, accounts, credit limits, payment schedules, emails between Victor and Brandon Weiss. and notes from my mother about which signature to use. "This is exactly what we needed," Carmen says, professional excitement in her tone. "It proves premeditation and conspiracy. Can you email it to me now and make a backup?" I send the file, then lean back, a strange calm settling over me. For weeks, I've been stumbling through fog, trying to understand the scope of their betrayal. Now the picture is clear. "I understand what they did now," I tell Carmen. "I can prove it." Sunday afternoon, golden autumn light falls through the maple trees lining my parents' street. I chose this time on purpose. Neighbors out walking dogs, tending gardens, washing cars. Witnesses. Caleb parks his truck at the curb. "Ready?" he asks, squeezing my hand. I nod, clutching my leather portfolio. Inside, printed copies of the spreadsheet, emails, and a restraining order application already filled out. All I need is Victor's signature or an officer to serve it. We walk up the familiar brick path to the white colonial where I spent my teen years. The doorbell echoes inside. Footsteps approach. Victor opens the door, his confident smile faltering when he sees Caleb towering behind me. "Stephanie," he says, voice tight. "This is unexpected." "We need to talk," I say, voice clear and steady. "All of us." My mother appears in the hallway, wiping her hands on a dish towel. Her face turns pale. "Stephanie, what's happening?" "May we come in?" I step forward without waiting for her reply. This house no longer feels intimidating. In the living room, Victor stands near the fireplace, deliberately holding a higher position, trying to project control. Caleb places himself between us, arms folded, a quiet but firm barrier. "What is this about?" Victor demands, his voice raised. "We've been trying to reach you for days." I place my portfolio on the coffee table, pulling out the first document, a printed copy of his spreadsheet. "I have the records, Victor," I say calmly. "And Brandon Weiss is cooperating." Color drains from his face. My mother sinks into the sofa. "I don't know what you're talking about," Victor mutters, but his words lack conviction. I pull out the next set of documents. Account 45621, opened January 14th. Account 78302, opened March 8th. A city card with a $24,000 limit. Now maxed out. Victor's eyes flick toward the window. Outside, Mr. Peterson trims his hedges, pretending not to notice. "Stephanie," my mother whispers, "we were going to repay everything before you found out." "Like you repaid your first wife's daughter?" I ask, watching Victor flinch. "Yes, I know about that too." Victor takes a step forward, but Caleb shifts, a reminder of his presence. Victor stops instantly. "This is a family matter," Victor hisses. "We can settle this privately." I pull a restraining order application from my portfolio. "Sign this to acknowledge receipt or the police will serve it. Your decision." "You wouldn't?" My mother gasps. "She already has," Caleb replies quietly. "The police are waiting for the call." Victor stares at the papers, his jaw tight. With trembling hands, he grabs the pen and signs, his writing jagged with suppressed anger. "This isn't over," he says through clenched teeth. "Actually, it is," I respond, collecting the documents. "The bank is freezing the fraudulent accounts. Any attempt to contact me will violate this order." I rise, standing tall. Through the window, I see 3 neighbors gathered near Mr. Peterson's hedge, whispering. "Perfect. Let's go," I tell Caleb, turning my back on my parents. Behind me, my mother begins to cry, but I don't look back. Outside, the autumn air feels sharp and clean. I walk toward the truck, feeling stronger with each step. At Caleb's bungalow, the scent of garlic and tomatoes fills the kitchen. Carmen has arrived early with Italian takeout and a bottle of champagne. "To facing down bullies," Caleb toasts, raising his glass. "Just like when we were kids." "Except now, the law is on our side," Carmen adds, her professional tone softening with pride. "You handled it perfectly, Stephanie. The documentation is flawless." My phone rings. Howard Langley's name flashes on the screen. "Miss Adler," he says formally, "Brandon Weiss has officially confessed to bank fraud. He's given a full statement about your stepfather's involvement." "Thank you," I say, feeling a weight lift from my shoulders. We hang up just as a knock sounds at the door. Mrs. Garcia from 2 houses down stands on the porch, holding a warm apple pie. I saw what happened earlier, she says, pressing it into my hands. We always thought Victor seemed odd with money, too many schemes. You did the right thing, dear. She squeezes my arm before leaving. Later, I sit on Caleb's porch swing, watching the evening fade behind the oak trees. The cinnamon scent of the pie mixes with the autumn air. For the first time since this began, I feel clean again. I tell Carmen and Caleb as they join me. I take a deep breath. Do I push for full criminal charges now, or wait to see what else turns up? Carmen starts to reply, but I raise a hand. Not tonight. Tonight, we celebrate. Tomorrow, we plan. And for the first time in weeks, my smile feels real. A week later, I spread folders across Carmen's cherrywood desk, arranging them in strict order. The rush of confrontation has faded into focus and planning. This is like building a structure, I explain. Foundation first, then framework, then details. Carmen nods, her silver-streaked hair catching the light as she reviews Victor's 2017 bankruptcy filing. You've got the right approach, Stephanie. The confrontation was necessary, but now comes the real work. I tap my pen against the rental property files Caleb uncovered. Mother never reported this income for 6 years. Leverage, Carmen says simply. For 3 hours, we dissect their weaknesses, mapping a 3-phase strategy. Criminal charges for identity theft, civil restitution for financial damages, a separate track for credit restoration. Each document strengthens my resolve. I've been studying fraud statutes every night, I say, opening my laptop to show bookmarked legal resources. Knowledge is protection. You're handling this exactly right, Carmen replies. When do you plan to file the report? Tuesday, after I finish documenting the last account. The words come easily now, steady and clear. Carmen raises an eyebrow. You're keeping impressive distance. I need clarity, not anger, I reply. We're not just making noise anymore. We're building an undeniable case. That evening, Caleb drills mounting brackets into the eaves of his bungalow. The electric screwdriver hums as he installs the third security camera. One more at the back door, he says, wiping sweat from his forehead with his forearm. Then tomorrow, we'll set up the same system at your apartment. I hold the ladder steady, watching my brother work with the same careful precision he brings to his cabinetry. Carmen is coordinating with the bank's fraud division. They're sending full transaction histories from the last 5 years. Caleb nods, his focus steady as he adjusts the camera angle. Good. The more documentation, the better. Cortez? Inside, my laptop screen glows with a spreadsheet listing every unauthorized account, forged signature, and stolen dollar. I've become a forensic accountant of my own losses, cataloging each betrayal with clinical precision. My phone buzzes, a text from Carmen. Background check confirms similar pattern with Victor's former stepdaughter. Call me. When I call, her voice is controlled but tense. He's done this before, Stephanie. Different tactics, same result. We could use this as pattern of behavior evidence. I add this to our growing case file, feeling not satisfaction but a professional sense of thoroughness. We're building connections with bank security teams, credit bureau investigators, and identity theft specialists, a network tightening around Victor and Lillian like a net. That evening, Carmen's face is serious on my video call. I found a problem. The statute of limitations on the oldest fraudulent accounts. We can't include them in the criminal complaint. For a moment, the old panic flickers. How many accounts are lost? 3. But that's not all. Carmen shuffles papers off screen. Victor has retained Jonathan Mercer. My stomach drops. The fraud defense attorney from the Westlake case? She nods grimly. They still have resources despite the restraining order, connections we hadn't counted on. I take in the blow, then square my shoulders. We'll focus on the most recent violations. Those are ironclad. We need to file quickly, Carmen warns, before evidence disappears. I end the video call and stare at my meticulously organized files. The strategy needs tweaking, but the foundation stands. I won't be outplayed by the people who taught me to play chess on Sundays before turning me into a pawn in their financial games. Tomorrow, we continue building, block by careful block, not with rage, but with the cold precision of an architect of justice. The next morning, after closing out the last account at the bank, I spread color-coded files across Carmen's conference table, each representing a part of my case against Victor and my mother. The room smells of coffee and lemon polish. Carmen's law office, a sanctuary of order and purpose. Morning light filters through Venetian blinds, striping the mahogany table. This is everything, I say, tapping the red folder. Criminal complaint with input from Jackson Reeves at the prosecutor's office. Maximum impact on the identity theft charges. Carmen nods, flipping through. The prosecutor was impressed with your documentation. Victor's pattern goes further than most cases they see. Caleb sets down 3 binders quietly. Family history timeline, he says. It shows how they moved from minor boundary violations to full financial manipulation. I've never seen my brother look so tired. The past 3 weeks have hollowed his cheeks and darkened the skin beneath his eyes. He's been working overtime to help me while keeping his cabinetry business afloat. His hands, usually steady with fine woodwork, tremble slightly as he arranges the binders in order. The credit bureaus have been notified, Carmen says, checking items off her legal pad. They've placed fraud flags on all your accounts. That should stop new accounts from being opened. Howard sent the bank's full investigation file, I add, indicating the blue folder. And Brandon Weiss gave a full statement about Victor's forged paperwork instructions. I step back, surveying the comprehensive record of my parents' betrayal. Witness statements, bank records, credit reports, transaction histories. A paper trail of calculated deception spanning years. We're not just stopping them, I say, the words firm on my tongue. We're making sure they can't do this to anyone else. Carmen studies my face. Are you ready for tomorrow? Once we file these charges, there's no going back. Before I can answer, my phone buzzes. Unknown number. Hello? Miss Adler? This is Officer Merritt, Palm Lakes Police Department. There's been a break-in at your apartment. The words hit like a blow. Was anything taken? Not taken, destroyed. You should come see for yourself. 30 minutes later, I stand in my kitchen, glass crunching underfoot. The apartment I kept meticulously organized is unrecognizable. Cabinet doors hang from broken hinges, drawers dumped on the floor. Every framed photo shattered, but it's the kitchen wall that makes me stop. Red spray paint, 3 feet high. Family first. Officer Merritt documents the damage, her camera flash catching the dripping letters. The building manager found it when a neighbor reported glass breaking. Security camera was disabled first, but we're checking street cameras. This is a restraining order violation, Caleb says, voice tight. Victor was ordered to stay 500 feet away. I step around broken dishes, noticing my file cabinet pried open, papers shredded like confetti. My home office is wrecked, laptop smashed, printer destroyed. They're looking for the evidence, I whisper, cold realization spreading. They don't know we've already copied everything. Later, at the police station filing my report, the sergeant asks, "Any idea what they were after?" "Everything," I answer, watching him type. But mostly they wanted to scare me into backing down. "Did it work?" he asks. I think about the red letters dripping on my kitchen wall. Cross-family face consequences. No, I say firmly. It just proves I'm doing the right thing. Back at Caleb's bungalow, Carmen arrives with takeout no one touches. Her face is grim as she looks at the photos from my apartment. "There's more," she says, pushing her container aside. "Victor has been asking about my previous cases. My assistant overheard him at the courthouse yesterday, trying to get information from the clerk about cases I lost. He's trying to discredit you," I say, a new fear rising. "Should I find another attorney?" "I don't want to put you at risk." Carmen's expression hardens. "Absolutely not. This is exactly why I handle family financial fraud. These intimidation tactics are standard. We work late into the night, strengthening security protocols. Caleb installs more cameras at both his house and Carmen's office. I catalog every document, creating duplicate sets stored securely in separate locations. The next morning, we meet for final preparation. Prosecutor Jackson Reeves joins us, silver hair and bow tie giving him the look of a professor rather than a seasoned legal fighter. "All documentation is indexed and ready for filing," Carmen reports, sliding a thick binder toward him. "We've enhanced security after yesterday's break-in." Jackson reviews the evidence summary, nodding. "Exceptional work. I rarely see identity theft cases documented this well." Caleb places a hand on my shoulder. You've done everything right, Steph. They can't run anymore. I look at my team, people not related by blood but bound by something stronger, integrity. Carmen organizing files with precision. Jackson flagging key documents with colored tabs. Caleb steady and vigilant. This is the most comprehensive fraud case I've built in 20 years, Carmen says, closing the master file with finality. We file charges tomorrow. The word tomorrow lingers in the air like a certainty. The planning phase ends and the legal process begins. I think of Victor's spray-painted message and feel a shift inside me. Not peace. Readiness. I'm ready, I say, and for the first time since this ordeal began, my voice is steady. The morning sun hasn't yet cut through the fog when my phone vibrates on Caleb's coffee table. It's Carmen, calling 3 hours earlier than scheduled. They vandalized the lake cabin, she says immediately. The sheriff called it in. Broken windows, spray paint on the walls. I sit up fast, spilling lukewarm coffee onto my lap. How bad? I ask. Bad enough. Your family photo albums were shredded, pages scattered on the dock, she replies. Her voice lowers. There's more. Victor filed an emergency petition this morning claiming you're mentally unstable and invented this fraud scenario after a family dispute. I filed the charges already, as we planned. The coffee mug slips from my fingers, landing with a dull thud on the hardwood. Somehow the fact it doesn't break feels heavier than if it had shattered. He can't do that, I whisper. But my voice betrays my doubt. He can try, Carmen says. His attorney is arguing you authorized those loans but changed your mind after an argument over the retail project. They're trying to delay today's prosecutor review. My stomach tightens as a text arrives from Marjorie, my mother's oldest friend. Stephanie, your mother is heartbroken. How could you turn on your family? They're working the church crowd, I say, scrolling through more accusatory messages. Mom's telling everyone I've turned cruel. Classic manipulation, Carmen answers. They're scrambling. We need to move now. I'm filing for an emergency hearing to address these false claims. Through the kitchen window, I see Caleb walking across the lawn, phone at his ear, gesturing with his free hand. When he catches my eye, he gives me a thumbs up. Caleb installed wildlife cameras at the cabin this weekend, I tell Carmen, to capture the blue herons on the dock. Perfect, she says. Those cameras include timestamps and GPS data. If they recorded Victor trespassing, that's a restraining order violation, I hear her typing quickly. Can Caleb send the photos within the hour? The front door opens as Caleb enters, nodding. Downloading them now. Clear shots of Victor breaking the family room window at 5:32 this morning. His red Buick is visible in 4 frames. My phone pings again. This time it's from Pastor Willard. Your mother was in tears during prayer group. Family reconciliation is God's highest calling. They planned this, I say, the realization hitting. Filing the petition the same day the prosecutor reviews our case. Destroying the cabin. Turning the church against me. It's coordinated, Carmen's voice hardens. We're delivering the full evidence package to the prosecutor today with an urgent arrest warrant request. We have the bank security footage showing Victor forging your signatures. They've overplayed their hand. This strengthens our case. While Caleb finishes the downloads, I shower and dress in the navy pantsuit I reserve for client presentations. The familiar act of applying makeup steadies my hands. They want me frantic, off balance, vulnerable, I think. I won't give them that. By noon, Carmen has filed our response to Victor's petition, attaching the cabin photos with their clear timestamps. My phone keeps buzzing with messages from church members and family friends repeating my mother's lines. We just want our daughter back. This is a family misunderstanding. Half the congregation thinks I'm having a breakdown, I tell Carmen when she calls with an update. My mother's playing the heartbroken parent perfectly. Let them, Carmen says. The judge doesn't care about church gossip. She cares about evidence, and we have it. The emergency hearing is set for tomorrow at 8 a.m. Tomorrow? My voice catches. That's so soon. Exactly what we wanted, she replies. No delays. No time for them to create more lies, she pauses. Stephanie, one more thing. The prosecutor just issued an arrest warrant for Victor for the restraining order violation and vandalism. The world seems to pause around me. When will they arrest him? I ask. Tonight, most likely, she says. Officers are already searching for him. Carmen's voice softens. This is happening, Stephanie. Are you ready to face them in court tomorrow? Am I ready? The question lingers as I spread our evidence across Caleb's dining table. Financial records, forged signatures, the cabin security footage showing Victor raging through family keepsakes. My phone rings again. Unknown number. Is this Stephanie Adler? A man's voice asks. Yes. Officer Reeves County Sheriff's Department. We've taken Victor Keene into custody for violating your restraining order and damaging property. He's being processed now. I thank him, my voice unexpectedly steady, then update Caleb, who has been standing guard since the alert about suspicious activity near his bungalow. You should rest, he advises, checking the locks again. Rest is impossible. I review my testimony one last time, preparing to face the parents who betrayed me. It feels so different from our confrontation weeks ago at their house. That was a clash. Tomorrow is war. Near midnight, Carmen texts, case prep is done. Tomorrow we finish this, completely. I step onto Caleb's back porch, breathing in the sharp autumn air. The stars blaze indifferently above, untouched by betrayal or justice. My old life burned away the day Howard Langley slid those forged loan documents across his desk. Tomorrow, from those ashes, something new begins. A text from another unknown number flashes across my phone. We're still your parents. It's not too late to stop this. I delete it without replying and turn off my phone. Some bridges, once destroyed, should never be rebuilt. The next morning, I sit in the county courthouse, fingers tracing the polished wooden bench beneath me. Sunlight pours through tall arched windows, cutting rectangles of light across the marble floor where dust floats like suspended time. The air smells of lemon polish and old paper, a cathedral to order that makes my racing pulse feel out of place. The courtroom fills. Members of my mother's church, neighbors who peeked through curtains when the police came, coworkers who covered shifts when I hid at Caleb's house. Every face is a silent witness to what comes next. Accountability in its rawest form. Caleb leans close, his shoulder brushing mine. You okay? He whispers, scanning the crowd. I'm ready, I answer, surprised to feel it's true. Carmen sits beside me, arranging documents with practiced ease. The prosecutor, Jackson Reeves, consults with her briefly before taking his place. His navy suit and steady posture radiate authority. A low murmur ripples through the gallery as my mother and Victor enter with their attorney. They've dressed as though meeting a school principal, Victor in a muted gray suit, my mother in a cream dress with a soft cardigan, small and vulnerable. The outfit of concerned parents, not culprits, Carmen murmurs. Classic intimidation tactic. Playing the reasonable family. The judge enters and we rise. Judge Eleanor Winters surveys the room with sharp, measured eyes. Known for fairness and dislike of theatrics, perfect. Victor's attorney, Lawrence Bentley, begins. Silver-haired and smooth, his voice carries the ease of someone long accustomed to being trusted. Your Honor, this is nothing more than a misunderstanding within a family, he says, palms spread wide. The Keenes only sought to help their daughter with her financial struggles. Miss Adler authorized these transactions, but later changed her mind after a personal dispute. My fingernails press crescents into my palms. The lie is so complete that for a moment I question my own memory of the past months. When my mother takes the stand, her performance is calculated. Tears glisten but never fall as she claims concern for me. We only wanted to help, she says, voice quivering. Stephanie has always been impulsive with money. We were protecting her. The old guilt rises in my throat like poison. Family helps family. The mantra of my childhood, the chain around my neck. Then Carmen rises. Calm, precise, like a surgeon. Mrs. Keene, you testified that your daughter authorized these loans. Can you specify when and where this occurred? My mother falters, glancing at Victor. Well, we talked about it at family dinners. Exact dates, please. Another pause. Last February, after her birthday. Carmen lifts a document. According to Miss Adler's employer, she was in Chicago then, presenting at a logistics conference. Here are her receipts, plane tickets, and registration. My mother's face reddens. Then it must have been March. Interesting, Carmen says smoothly. The first fraudulent credit card was opened in January, before your supposed authorization. Step by step, Carmen dismantles her timeline. Each contradiction makes my mother shrink further. The prosecutor then presents a clear evidence timeline. Brandon Weiss, pale and uneasy, testifies about Victor's role in coordinating the fraud. how Victor coached him to push paperwork without proper checks. Mr. Keene said it was a family matter, Brandon says, avoiding Victor's glare. He said his stepdaughter was too busy but had given permission. Howard Langley testifies next, describing the forged signatures and pointing out the mismatched details. Once we found the first forgery, we uncovered at least 7 more across multiple accounts. Piece by piece, the case builds. I watch Victor's mask crack. His confident smile stiffens, then fractures. When the prosecutor reveals the spreadsheet from Victor's laptop, tracking my accounts, a flush creeps up his neck. "Mr. Keene?" Carmen asks on cross-examination. "Why were you maintaining a spreadsheet matching Ms. Adler's work schedule against her mail delivery times?" Victor shifts uncomfortably. "I was helping manage her finances." "By intercepting her mail?" "That's not—" "And can you explain these notes about her work trips to Chicago, which coincide exactly with new account openings?" Victor's jaw tightens. "I don't recall." "Mr. Keene, did you create this spreadsheet?" "Yes, but—" No further questions. The victory doesn't come from raised voices or emotional displays. It comes from carefully exposing each falsehood until only the truth remains. Judge Winters calls a brief recess. The courtroom hums with quiet conversations as we wait. When she returns, her expression is stern. "Based on the evidence presented, I am expanding the temporary restraining order to include Lillian Keene." She turns to the prosecutor. "Mr. Reeves, does the state wish to proceed with charges?" Jackson Reeves stands. "Yes, Your Honor. The state is filing formal charges of identity theft, bank fraud and witness intimidation against Victor Keene, and conspiracy charges against Lillian Keene." A court officer approaches Victor. The metallic sound of handcuffs echoes through the silent room. "Lillian," Victor calls, his earlier confidence replaced with desperation. "Tell them this is absurd." My mother doesn't respond. Her eyes stay fixed on her hands, tightly clasped in her lap. "The court is ordering all assets frozen pending civil judgment," Judge Winters continues. "Mr. Keene will remain in custody. Ms. Keene, while you are not being taken into custody at this time, the court finds sufficient evidence of systematic fraud to justify further investigation. You may face additional conspiracy charges depending on the findings." The shift in power is unmistakable. Once they towered over me as authority figures. Now Victor sits restrained, and my mother appears diminished by truth. I notice movement in the gallery. Several of my mother's church friends rise quietly and move to sit behind me. Mrs. Peterson, who taught my Sunday school class decades ago, squeezes my shoulder as she passes. The final hearing proceeds swiftly. Victor is denied bail due to flight risk and his pattern of intimidation. The civil case is expedited with a lien placed on my parents' assets, including the rental property my mother had concealed. The court orders immediate credit restoration procedures, Judge Winters announces. The evidence clearly shows Ms. Adler was a victim of systematic identity theft. When it's time for victim impact statements, I rise. My legs feel steady as I approach the podium. "Your Honor," I begin, my voice clear in the hushed courtroom. "Today ends the betrayal, but not the harm." I meet my mother's eyes. Family is meant to protect, not exploit. What they took wasn't just money. It was trust, safety, and my belief that the people meant to protect me wouldn't be the ones to cause harm. I draw a deep breath. I'm not asking for vengeance. I'm asking for justice. Justice that reflects the deliberate nature of their actions. My voice grows stronger, and I'm asking that this case help others who may be enduring similar betrayals by family members, trapped by the mistaken belief that loyalty requires accepting abuse. Judge Winters nods. "Ms. Adler, this court commends your courage in pursuing justice despite family pressure. Too often, cases like these go unreported because victims feel obligated to protect their abusers." She turns to Victor. "Mr. Keene, you are facing a potential federal sentence of 14 years. To my mother," she says, "Mrs. Keene, you may face a minimum of 2 years probation, depending on cooperation with ongoing investigations." When it's over, Carmen squeezes my arm. "This case will help others facing family identity theft. You've created a roadmap." Outside, rain begins to fall, washing the courthouse steps clean. I step into the downpour, face lifted, letting the water wash away the last traces of shame and guilt. The streams on my cheeks are indistinguishable from tears. I sense Caleb before I see him, his steady presence blocking the rain. He holds an umbrella over me, his expression a mix of pride and concern. "Ready?" he asks. I nod, squaring my shoulders. For the first time since this began, I walk away upright, no longer bracing for an expected blow. The rain continues to fall, erasing footprints behind us, cleansing the courthouse steps. 3 days after the sentencing, I sit on a polished bench outside the federal courthouse, watching autumn leaves swirl across the stone steps. The morning newspaper rests beside me, folded to show Lillian's public apology letter. Her carefully chosen words acknowledge what Victor denied until the end. They systematically stole my identity to fund a lifestyle built on deception. 14 years, I whisper, still processing Victor's plea deal. The sentence feels both appropriate and surreal. Punishment for a betrayal that can't be measured by time alone. My phone chimes with a text from Mrs. Harrington next door. Lasagna tonight, no arguments. The neighborhood meal train continues weeks after the sentencing. A surprising safety net of casseroles and watchful eyes. When Jeff Wilson across the street installed security cameras, he angled one toward my front door without me asking. I slip the newspaper into my tote bag as Carmen exits the courthouse, her heels clicking against the stone. Credit Bureau number 3 finally cleared everything, she says, sliding on her sunglasses. Your score should rebound completely within 60 days. The knot that has lived between my shoulder blades since that first day at Sunrise Credit Union eases slightly. Last night, I slept 7 hours without jolting awake, no longer fearing calls filled with Victor's accusations or Lillian's pleas. I never thought I'd have to choose justice over family, I tell Carmen, watching a young couple push a stroller up the courthouse steps. They laugh at something their baby does, that pure parental joy I once saw between my parents before cancer, Victor, and loans I never signed. You didn't choose, Carmen corrects gently, sitting beside me. They did, every time they forged your name. My email notification sounds, the official offer letter for senior project manager, complete with a 25% raise. The promotion I nearly lost when collection calls started reaching my office. Later that evening, Caleb grills steaks at his bungalow, celebrating our newly filed co-ownership of the restored family cabin. Vandalism repaired, security installed, memories reclaimed. To the family we choose, Caleb says, raising his glass. I clink mine against his, watching fireflies flicker in the backyard. Not the family that chose to betray me. 6 months after the sentencing, I stand at a podium in the Sunrise Credit Union community room, facing 20 seniors holding coffee cups and notepads. Identity theft, I begin. Feels like drowning. I remind them that reaching the surface again is possible. The certainty in my voice would have been unthinkable that autumn morning when Howard Langley's shaking hands slid forged documents across the table. Today, I guide others through the very challenges that once consumed me. Credit freezes, police reports, and victim impact statements. On Sundays, I sit on the cabin porch, coffee warming beside my laptop, as I prepare the upcoming Senior Center Fraud Awareness Program. The lake moves with gentle ripples, far removed from the storm of anxiety I once carried. Caleb appears with fresh muffins, sawdust still dusting his flannel shirt. The east bedroom renovation starts today, he says. The contractor believes we'll have space for 4 retreat participants by summer. A text from Carmen lights up my phone. Her fraud unit has taken on 2 new cases using my evidence template as their guide. In just 4 months, 3 families have already won prosecutions, breaking the silence that once sheltered abusers. The corporate training I created on identifying financial abuse has now been adopted by 3 national companies. From project manager to fraud prevention specialist, my role continues to grow. My boss even joked when approving my flexible schedule to allow speaking engagements. Therapy has helped me move forward without resentment. Under Dr. Linden's gentle care, I explored how Lillian's manipulation took hold after my father's death, when I was 18 and desperate for belonging. When Lillian reached out last month asking for reconciliation, I declined, without the crushing guilt that once defined me. Full accountability first, I told her. Then forgiveness can follow. The Scholarship Fund for Identity Theft Victims continues to expand at Sunrise Credit Union, where Howard Langley now champions bank policy reform. His silver-rimmed glasses still catch the light as he speaks passionately at community workshops. Exactly 1 year after that first confrontation, I sit once more in the burgundy chair at Sunrise Community Credit Union. The lobby still smells faintly of lemon polish and coffee. At the desk nearby, I notice an elderly woman twisting a tissue in her hands as her son presses her to sign a document. It's just a small line of credit, Mom, he insists. Her pen hovers midair, caught between duty and self-preservation. I recognize the posture. I once lived it. Approaching softly, I offer a credit union brochure. "Excuse me," I say. "I'm Stephanie Adler from the Fraud Prevention Department. We provide free financial reviews for all new accounts." The son's irritation is immediate. "We don't need that." But the woman's voice is quiet and steady. "Actually, I'd like to hear more." Later in Howard's office, she sips tea while explaining her son's gambling debts. Howard listens carefully, taking notes with patience and respect. "Financial abuse thrives in silence," I tell her. "Breaking that silence is where healing begins." That weekend at the cabin, I help Caleb fit new windows in the retreat space. The glass is designed to bring light into corners once shadowed, much like the lives we now support. 3 more families have contacted Carmen's legal team, relying on the templates we created. I've been invited to testify before a legislative committee on family identity theft statutes, helping bring visibility to crimes often hidden behind closed doors. That evening, I write in my journal, finally forgiving myself for missing the warning signs. Words flow easily now, understanding boundaries, growth. Closing the journal, I step onto the porch, watching stars shimmer across the lake. The same signature that once destroyed my trust also marked my freedom. Some family bonds are meant to be broken, so something stronger and healthier can take their place.